Yeah, thank you for having me. So Q4 was actually a very good quarter. We're happy all the businesses performed well. But as you said, 2022 was a very difficult year hit by inflation, COVID, natural catastrophes, etc. So as we look forward, there's two main factors that make us more optimistic. I think the first one is clearly on the investment side. As reinvestment yields get higher and higher and higher, we get more recurring net income. So this is the flip side of the inflation, which comes through in the following years. And the other thing that makes us optimistic, of course, is the significant increases in pricing we got at the 1/1 renewal. We renew about half of our business in January, and the renewals are significantly better than the last year and finally catching up with what we need in terms of good pricing.
Is that enough to offset the inflation in claims, though, that you often see through periods of inflation?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand how these come through the P&L. So when you have an inflation shock, you're forced to increase your reserves for current and future claims. So everything should be priced in. So this means that in the first year, you have to take a pretty big hit. And we took more than 1 billion in 2022. The flip side of that is the investment return, which goes up because interest rates go up, and that you cannot take in advance. This comes through, step by step. And so we saw a significant increase in investment income. And so as we go into 23, obviously we hope and think we have put enough reserves aside for the inflation shock, also for future claims, while the benefit of the interest rates come through.
Christian, can I get some more color around the large natural catastrophes? Because just reading between the lines here, above expectations, $2.7 billion, Hurricane Ian, floods in Australia, South Africa, hailstorms in France, winter storms in Europe and in the US. It sounds like a lot of this was climate related. So how do we think about this portfolio?
Yeah, so overall, the insured losses last year for the whole industry was 115 billion, and that's above a 10-year average of 81 billion. So there's significantly increased losses. This is partially due to value accumulation, expensive houses being built in the wrong places and in the wrong materials, probably also, but also climate change. And climate change is particularly visible in what we call secondary perils, in hailstorms, droughts, floods. And this percentage of secondary perils versus what we call primary perils, like a hurricane, has increased steadily. And last year, these secondary perils have made up about half of the overall 115 billion. And in the past, they used to be very small. So we had really to adapt models everywhere as we went into this year, and we had increased prices for natural catastrophe very significantly in this renewal. So this is where you saw by far the biggest price increase.